a system interface materialized, promising him a glorious destiny by granting him invincible power in his next life. What kind of twisted joke was this? He figured ending his pathetic existence would be an easy game, but it turned into an impossible trial. He even sought out a powerful master, begging the man to kill him. The spiky-haired nobody desperately pleaded for annihilation, even making a heart shape with his butt and kowtowing shamelessly. The second-hand embarrassment was overwhelming. He thought his life was a tragic comedy. He drank poison, but it simply evaporated. He offered himself to a wild boar, but the boar died instead. He hired Shaolin masters, but they clung to his leg, begging to be his disciples. His fate was so miserable, he was even forced to sleep with beautiful women. Why? All I want is to die. Is that too much for the heavens to ask? In his past life, to live longer, Yu worked himself to death, saving money for nourishing abalone. Instead, he just ended up dead and was promptly reincarnated. Now, he was a hunter in a cultivation world. Staring at the dried meat that was his only asset, he felt utterly humiliated. All that money for abalone, and he never even got a taste. The regret was so sharp, he just wanted it all to end. Suddenly, a blinding light appeared, and a panel introduced itself as the Salted Fish Ascension System. As cool as it sounded, its message was a slap in the face. Because he was too pathetic, it would only help him reach the top in his next life. What the hell? This trash system was completely useless, and to make matters worse, suicide didn't count. Fine. No system is smarter than a human. He'd just have to use external forces to achieve his life's goal. His mission: find death. Right on cue, a massive beast charged at him. Perfect. Come to Papa. But just as its horns were about to rearrange his face, something blocked it. What in the world? His own hands were moving on their own. Like a puppet, his body flipped through the air, slamming the beast to the ground. It died instantly. Turns out, this body was a highly skilled hunter whose combat reflexes activated automatically. Seriously? Who asked you to be so competent? Now what? At this rate, only a meteor could grant him his wish. The moment he thought it, a streak of light crashed down from the sky, slamming right into his house. Wrong address. He could only stare, his eyes wide in disbelief. The thing that had fallen was a woman as beautiful as a celestial star. Was this the universe's way of compensating him? After she awoke, Yu helped her out of the wreckage. He sighed, looking at his collapsed home, and turned to find a doctor. But what the hell was this? The woman had already stripped off all her clothes. Holding 2 medicine vials, she asked for help with her injuries. A river of blood streamed from his nose as he shakily approached, only to see her back was covered in severe wounds. Just what happened to her? Flashback to last night. The master of the Meihun sect, Shui Qingmei, had finally obtained the priceless divine pearl, but in her moment of triumph, a strange wind blew past, and the divine pearl vanished with it. Seeing the thief clutching the treasure, she immediately ordered her forces to pursue. I am Zhao Shueli of the Wenjian sect. Thank you, brave warrior, for your help. Yu was baffled by the story. Are you an idiot, rushing in there all alone? Still, she had managed to escape with her life, which was all that mattered. But just as he said that, she coughed up a mouthful of blood. Heavily injured, she asked for his help. The thought of a dangerous journey, hunted by a demonic sect, a perfect chance to die, sent a thrill down his spine. Okay, he agreed instantly. Meanwhile, at the demonic sect, the female master was seething with rage. She issued a command to a top expert, Zhao Yichuan, retrieve the divine pearl, and bring back Zhao Shueli's corpse. To ensure a swift mission, he requested an invisibility cloak. After receiving it, he thanked his master and departed. Back in the forest, Yu was fast asleep, but Shueli, with her high cultivation base, needed no rest. She quietly approached, her presence waking him from his slumber. He opened his eyes to find Shueli's face inches from his. Her skin glistened with sweat as she leaned in and whispered something intoxicating in his ear. Her scent was mesmerizing. His nose began to bleed again, but he snapped back to reality when she suddenly shouted, "The demonic sect is here!" He leaped up, alarmed to see a thick pink mist enveloping them. Shueli quickly explained, "It's their poison, a powerful aphrodisiac." So, that explained his reaction earlier. He was lucky he restrained himself, or things would have gotten interesting. But Shueli leaned in again, adding, "It only affects women, but for now, I can still resist it." All the while, the demonic sect assassin was hiding, just a short distance away, watching them. He was confident his powerful treasure would keep him hidden. Then he saw the man grab a bow and walk toward him, making him a little nervous. But that clumsy posture, There's no way he's been spotted. The moment that thought crossed his mind, an arrow flew straight for his eye. He froze in terror. Luckily, he was a master of movement. He instantly circulated his chi, shattering the arrow. As it fell uselessly to the ground, two voices cried out in perfect, frustrated unison. The plan failed. Yu Yue had planned to miss on purpose, luring the assassin out to kill him. But somehow, his body had the aim of a legendary archer. And what kind of cowardly assassin just hides while his target waits in the open? This guy had to be a complete moron. Aiming again, Yu Yue was certain he would miss this time. The assassin, meanwhile, zipped around the forest before returning to his original spot. He'll never expect this, he thought. Both sides were determined to succeed this time when… Snap! The bow itself broke under the sheer weight of their stupidity. The assassin, seeing Yu Yue's incredible aim, but sensing his weakness, decided to act. Xueli, though injured, drew her sword to help. At that moment, both hunter and hunted were utterly confused, not knowing where to aim or where to hide. After a moment's search, they both cheered in unison. This was the place. He was suspended mid-air, an arrow just inches from his face, filled with regret that it hadn't hit its mark, was dying before he ever got a girlfriend. Yu Yue's face darkened with rage. How shameless. He actually used his face to block the arrow. Wait. Could it be that this guy's system also required him to die? Just then, Zhao Xueli, glowing with a pink aura, lunged forward. The assassin scrambled to defend himself with a green aura of qi, and a dazzling light erupted from the clash. The brilliant flash stunned even Yu Yue. As the light faded, he rushed toward the dying man. Brother, teach me your secret. How do you attract death so easily? Thinking he was being mocked, the assassin coughed up a final mouthful of blood and expired. After collecting the loot, Yu Yue suggested they find a new route to avoid any more enemies. That's a good idea, she said, but with my injuries, if I don't return to my sect within half a month, I'll surely die. The road ahead is dangerous, so if you want to abandon me, I won't blame you. But Yu Yue just smiled confidently. Never. I wouldn't abandon a beautiful lady, not until I get a spectacular death out of it. Deeply moved, she pulled him into her mountainous chest. The embrace was so tight he yelped. Still, he thought, dying of suffocation in here would be a worthy end. Meanwhile, the sect master learned her subordinate had failed, losing both his life and the treasure. Seething with rage, she opened her Google Maps and marked 3 ambush points. The next morning, the pair arrived safely in Jinan City. As they walked, she explained, the Wenjian sect is located in the 𝒐𝒓𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 This is Jinan, the westernmost border city, so it's technically within our sect's territory. But after hearing Xueli's tale, he knew they would stop at nothing to harm her. This made Yu Yue ecstatic. His plan still had a chance, but it's not over till it's over. That night, they rested at an inn. Xueli seized the chance to wash away days of travel grime, but she made sure Yu Yue stood guard outside. The poor man was doing a handstand, trying to fight his inner demons, but he couldn't stop the nosebleed as his imagination ran wild. Suddenly, Xueli's silhouette darted out from inside. A strange aura was approaching. Before she could even get dressed, the sight made him fall flat on his face. I can sense 4 powerful masters outside. Xueli, urgently, threw on her robes, channeling energy into her palm. From it, she summoned a treasured sword, ready for battle. Tan Du Ba Ba of the 5 Poison Sect, Wan Qi Zi of the Spirit God, Valley, Zun Wei Shi of the Taiying Sect, and the Faceless Monk of Wuxiang Temple. Stop hiding in the shadows and show yourselves. Called out by name, they could no longer conceal themselves and, finally appeared. Sword Fairy. After all these years, you still remember the names of us old fossils. We're truly honored. That year, our 4 sects kept to ourselves, yet you slaughtered our families. I have carved that debt into my heart. She scoffed at their twisted lies. Don't make me laugh. The 5 Poison Sect poisoned rivers and spread plagues. Wuxiang Temple murdered its followers, harvesting their faces to craft profane artifacts. The Spirit God Valley devoured newborns to enhance their own cultivation, and the Taiying sect used mortals to feed its shadow beasts. Are any of you innocent? Do any of you not deserve to be punished? The old woman shrieked. Those mortals were weak. It was their own fault. Regardless, I will never forgive you. Then come at me. Ready for a fight. Xueli flung her towel aside so it wouldn't get in the way. Yu Yue, ready introed, enraged, grabbed a chair and charged at the villains, only to have her towel fly straight into his face. Miss Zhao, don't just undress like that. We'll get censored. Besides, you're seriously injured. Let me fight them. But first, please put your clothes on. Ignoring Yu Yue's challenge to all four masters, the old woman sneered contemptuously. The great sword fairy, on the verge of death, wants to protect this mere mortal? Hey, I don't need her protection. Shui Li's face darkened. She knew she had no chance of winning and escaping. What is your true purpose? It's simple. If the sword fairy completes the trials prepared by the four of us, we guarantee we will never trouble you again. I will use a divine spirit contract to bind all our souls to this agreement. Anyone who breaks the pact, their soul will self-destruct. With his modern knowledge, Yu Yue knew instantly that the contract was a trap. Any fool could see that. I'll sign it, Shui Li declared without hesitation, leaving Yu Yue speechless. But then, she turned and explained, I know it's a trap, but I can't let you and the common people be endangered. The truth hit Yu Yue like a bolt of lightning. He was so moved, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As she slowly approached the glowing contract, the old woman grinned in triumph. With a graceful flick of her slender hand, Shui Li sent a streak of energy towards the pact. In that instant, Yu Yue tried to read it as fast as he could, then immediately blocked her. Wait a minute. All the details of the trials and their restrictions are missing. What if you tell Shui Li to poison herself, or order her to slaughter the people of Jinan City? As he spoke, he channeled power into his fist and charged the contract. A blank pact like this. You shameless tricksters, have you no shame? With one powerful punch, he shattered the steel-hard divine spirit contract. He thought to himself, I really want to die, but I can't just stand by and watch them trick this naive girl. His face darkening at the mortal who ruined his plan, the old woman roared. Don't be ridiculous. The room descended into chaos as the two shouted back and forth. Sick of the noise, Shui Li drew her sword to intervene, demanding they add the details to the contract, or they would just settle it with a fight. The villains asked for a 5-second-long timeout to confer. It turned out, they were just a bunch of cowards. They knew a direct fight was unwinnable. Amending the contract seemed harmless enough. After a brief huddle, they decided to agree to the sword fairy's terms. But Yu Yue wasn't done yet. He wanted to add a few more conditions to make it airtight. And most importantly, his name had to be right next to Zhao Shui Li's. The long-faced man gloated internally at his own brilliant idea. He was certain they'd never let her live, so this was the most foolproof plan. Pointing a finger at Yu Yue, the old woman warned, Don't you regret this. She chanted the incantation, restoring the divine pact. Instantly, the contract was whole again, now covered in countless words. Shui Li rushed to stop him. I can't let you endanger yourself. But Yu Yue turned to her, his confidence shining. We are on the same side. We must fight, shoulder to shoulder against them. With those words, he bit his fingertip, drawing blood, and meticulously signed his name, Yu Yue. She had always been a lone wolf, so hearing those words, Shui Li's eyes welled up with tears, deeply moved. She silently thanked this mortal man. The contract was now filled with the signatures of both parties, large and clear. The old woman, who had had her fill of this public display of affection, grabbed the old man's beard in frustration. You asked for this, you little brat. You want to die that badly? I'll grant you your wish. My challenge is for you to choose 3 of these 9 cups of poisoned wine. The old bearded man, rubbing his sore jaw, demanded a game of Go. Amitabha. This humble monk's trial is a debate on Buddhist scripture. The final master revealed his challenge. Survive in a room with my shadow beast for 1 minute. I hope you can keep your life. Just as he was about to charge forward, the sword fairy stopped him. Yu Yue, thank you for doing this for me, but for a mortal to fight them, it's pure suicide. Let me handle this. Hearing her, an idea sparked in his mind. He opened the system panel. If I die in this situation, will it count? The system confirmed that this scenario was okay, as it was an act of protecting a companion. Excellent. The only problem now was Shui Li. There was only one way to convince her. Suddenly, Yu Yue's voice dropped into a resentful tone. So, you're just like those demonic sects, looking down on me as a useless mortal. The line immediately got Shui Li's attention. The demonic cultivators, sensing drama, whipped out their popcorn to watch the show. Turning his back with a cool flair, he continued his monologue. All this time I thought we were friends, allies who trusted each other. To be looked down on like this, it truly hurts my feelings. You have to make it up to me. His sudden switch to a pouting, teary-eyed look made the 2 onlookers spit out their popcorn. They thought this kid was supposed to be tough. Even Shui Li couldn't stand it and snapped at him to get away from her. Just speak normally. For the first challenge, Yue chose Tandu Baba's. It offered the most efficient path to death. If suicide had been an option, he would have picked it long ago. Instantly, the old woman waved her hand, and 9 cups of wine appeared, arranged in 3 neat rows. According to the contract, not all of them are poisoned. You must choose 1 cup from each row, top to bottom, and drink it. Good luck. Inside his head, Yue began strategizing. If he chose randomly, he might get unlucky again, like with the arrow incident. That would be a disaster. He stared at the first row. The 3 cups looked as clear as water, which worried him. He gave one a sniff. Instantly, he detected a faint, fishy smell. Oh, great. His hand was already going numb, his shoulders ached, and his head spun. He collapsed to the floor, sending Shui Li into a panic. But the old woman just sneered. This poison isn't even ranked in the 5 poisons sect. I advise you to give up now, she whispered to Dunyats. Pushing himself up, he locked eyes on a cup, but his hands were trembling so much, a few drops spilled onto the table, instantly dissolving the wood. Seeing its power, Dunyak downed the entire thing in 1 gulp. He struck a cool pose, waiting for death. But after what felt like an eternity, nothing happened. The old woman praised him. You have some skill to see through the vanishing wood poison. It only corrodes wood, but it's like water to the human body. As if to mock him, she then asked, Who taught you such artistry? Dunyak seethed with rage. Without a word, he moved to the 2nd row. Wary of another trick, he reached for the most harmless-looking cup, but his second personality slapped some sense back into him. After 49 moments of hesitation, Dunyak tearfully and nervously reached for the dreamy purple cup. But seeing no reaction from the old woman, he switched his hand to the black one. A flicker in her eyes, a slight frown, that was the sign. With a triumphant grin, he drank it all. Before the cup even left his lips, she praised him again. Truly brilliant, to have chosen the one our master raised. You are no ordinary man. The sheer bitterness of being played made him want to scream. Why did she have to be such a drama queen just to trick him? Reaching the 3rd row, he stopped thinking and just grabbed a cup. He chugged down the green liquid, but it only tasted a little sweet. Wrong again. The narrator was so bored they couldn't even be bothered to draw properly. But suddenly, something felt terribly wrong. He coughed up a torrent of blood as a sharp pain pierced his heart. Fear gripped him. The old woman burst into a triumphant laughter. This time, you're truly finished. All 3 cups in the last row are poisoned. Only by drinking the 1st cup of each row could you have neutralized them. What a vicious old hag. I will not forgive you for tormenting him. As Shui Li rushed forward, Dunyak stood up and blocked her way, a sly grin on his face. Actually, I'm feeling full of life. I feel like I could even do a TikTok dance right now. He was joking, but inside, he was overjoyed. See you all in Season 2, everyone. But wait, there were still 3 trials left for the Sword Maiden to face. Seeing as he was about to die anyway, he figured he might as well go all out. Dunyak raised his middle finger, challenging the next opponent to a duel. To ensure my path to death is a glorious one, I must continue. Bring it on. I'll take everything you've got. But every one of Dunyak's relentless attacks was expertly blocked by the old man. The battle was incredibly intense. His body felt heavy as lead. Dunyak was sure this was the end. He channeled the legendary skills of a grandmaster, pushing himself to the absolute limit. Finally, the old man conceded. Finish me, he urged. With pleasure. Dunyak's prepared to make the final move with an epic pose. But the chess piece suddenly fell from his hand. He clutched his head, screaming in agony. It felt like 10,000 arrows were piercing his skull. Shui Li rushed to his side, fearing the poison had finally taken effect. But the old woman just cackled. That pain isn't from the poison. It's from the old man's chessboard, she explained. It's a divine artifact of the spirit god Valley called the 5 Suns board. It can steal an opponent's life without them ever knowing. With every piece you place, a part of your primordial spirit is shaved away. But since you're a mortal who has never cultivated a primordial spirit, it's draining your lifeblood and essence instead. I just had to drag the game on until you were completely exhausted. Soon, your brain will wither and you will die. But he struggled to his feet, ignoring Shui Li's desperate pleas to stop. His energy was drained, and the poison was coursing through his veins. Facing the old man, Dunyak felt as tiny as an ant before a true demon. The epic battle music started playing once again. 2 grandmasters continued their game through the night, but both looked utterly exhausted, like they'd been pulling all-nighters to meet a deadline. After a few more dramatic montages, the old man breathed heavily. He couldn't believe it. Are you a superhuman? There's no way you're just a mortal. Across from him, Dunyak was clenching every muscle in his body, holding on by a single thread. And at that moment, the old man ran out of spiritual energy. His body went limp, and he collapsed backward. Dunyak's hand was still on the board. He had won. A winner has to celebrate. He staggered to his feet. but only for a moment before he coughed up a huge mouthful of blood. As Xue Li ran to support him, she saw the healthy color return to his face, even though his body was still weak. The old woman, who had been watching from the side, turned pale. Impossible. The poison. It's been cured. Hearing this, Dunyak foamed at the mouth with frustration. What a miserable victory. Meanwhile, Xue Li was overjoyed. As it turns out, the secret was the fireworks meteor poison he'd been hit with. It stimulates the victim's potential, relentlessly, for 2 hours, before they explode and die. But by using the chessboard to drain every last drop of his stamina and lifeblood, the poison had nothing left to fuel it, and naturally neutralized itself. A true masterstroke. Not even the creator of the poison would have thought of such a counter. That crazy old woman and her wild theories. Why don't you just call me the son of a god and get it over with? As if on cue, the old woman began her analysis. He understands the 5 Poisons sect and the spirit god valley so well, and his surname is Du. There's no doubt about it. This boy is the son of the founder of the 10,000 Demons sect, Du Tui Hoan. Dunyak's mind went blank. He had no idea who she was talking about. Meanwhile, Xue Li looked at him with intense suspicion. The 2 gossiping onlookers could feel the tension as well. Dunyak frantically tried to clear his name. Old woman, don't you dare label me. My father was just an ordinary hunter who passed away not too long ago. But her eyes lit up again. That confirms it. Before the founder of the 10,000 Demons sect began his cultivation, he was a reclusive hunter. No one knew if he was alive or dead. Hearing this, the sword maiden grew even more suspicious, taking a few steps back. Dunyak desperately tried to explain, "It's not him. My father died from a head injury after being rammed by a wild boar. If he was so powerful, how could he die in such a pathetic way?" As soon as he finished speaking, the old woman's eyes went wide. Then it must be true. Dunyak felt like he was losing his mind. How was times another confirmation? Was this some kind of twisted comedy show? Ignoring him, she continued her dramatic tale. At that time, he was heavily injured in a duel, becoming a cripple. He hid deep in the forest, so it's entirely possible a wild boar finished him off. Dunyak turned to plead with Xue Li. Don't believe her. But he froze when he saw her hand begin to glow with power. He was terrified. How could he possibly explain that he took the surname Du from his past life? Before he was reincarnated here, he looked back at the 4 cowering demonic sect members and snapped, "What are you doing? Scaring yourselves?" Xue Li's face was stern. "You are from the demonic sect. Why did you help me?" Her words pierced his heart, his kindness thrown back in his face. If he denied it, the old woman would just spin another crazy tale. But if he admitted it, Xue Li would surely leave him out of righteous fury. After a moment of thought, his silver tongue went to work. It is the heart that decides one's path. No matter what techniques you learn, as long as your heart is dedicated to good, then your path will always be a righteous one. His words were so profound, even Xue Li was moved, lowering her sword. The other 2 sect members fell to their knees, weeping and accepting the founder's son as their new master. Looks like I was a bit too eloquent, he thought. But this works. He commanded them, continue the trials. Bring out the sacred artifact and the phantom battle armor, now. Watching this scene unfold, the old man and woman felt a chill run down their spines, wondering if they would even make it out of this place alive. The sword fairy, having saved them, forced a pact upon the goons. 10 years of seclusion in the far west. They scurried away, thanking her profusely for her boundless mercy. With that settled, she reached into her robes, searching for something. It was a legendary treasure of the soul-devouring sect, the Divine Pearl, capable of amplifying cultivation arts. But its power was immense and corrupting. In the wrong hands, it would surely birth a world-ending demon. After explaining, she tucked the massive Divine Pearl back into her equally impressive chest. Yue knew instantly she was testing him. But how could he possibly reveal his secret that he was reincarnated from another world? So instead, he raised 2 fingers. He swore a solemn oath to never harm her, even vowing to help her return safely to her sect. It sounded a bit far-fetched, but she accepted it. Everyone has secrets they can't speak of. With that, they set off. But unaccustomed to carriage travel, Yue got violently sick, cursing the very culture that had crushed his hopes of a quick death. The more he thought, the more furious he got, until he was practically spewing rainbows. Just endure it a little longer, she said. This road is exceptionally safe. We'll reach the inn soon. But in his mind, he was screaming at the heavens in despair. Who needs safe? Just let me die already. As they arrived, Xue Li immediately noticed the inn was unusually empty. The soul-devouring sect must have set a trap here long ago. And just as she predicted, the female sect master stepped forward to welcome them into her den. Instantly, demonic cultivators swarmed from every shadow, surrounding them completely. This sight jolted Yu Yue awake. Fantastic, another chance has arrived. He couldn't believe how useless those 4 weaklings had been. Truly, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. Seeing the tense look on the Sword Fairy's face, he guessed this new boss was incredibly powerful. And just as he thought, the demonic sect master unleashed her aura, sending countless streams of ghastly black energy shrieking toward them. With a single, elegant slash of her sword, the Sword Fairy blew away the demonic energy. She then gathered her power to break through their encirclement, but she never expected the opportunist beside her to be even faster. Yu Yue shot past her with a wicked grin. Let me handle them first. Seeing this handsome man charge at her, the sect master, Shui Qingmei, froze in shock. No one had ever pursued her so aggressively. But this was a bit too much. Before she could even scream, he slammed into her like a cannonball, sending her flying 1,000 meters. It was only then she realized. This man was also a master. Filled with rage, she ordered everyone to attack, screaming, "Forget the woman, kill that brat first." At that moment, Yu Yue was still standing there, clueless as to what he'd just accomplished. As the demonic horde charged, a burst of pink spiritual energy erupted, blocking their path before exploding outwards, sending them all flying. Lady Zhao, you said you were heavily injured. So why are you still strong enough to blast away all my precious death dealers? Shui Li advanced, ready to finish off the demoness Qingmei. But the woman lay gasping her final words. The young master will avenge me. And then she collapsed. Yu Yue watched with envy. If only he could die that easily. A moment later, he turned around to see that Shui Li had also fallen, having exhausted her power. As Yu Yue helped her back to their room, she explained that Qingmei was weak, relying only on her dark arts. But suddenly, Shui Li sensed grave danger. She shoved Yu Yue aside just as Qingmei, who had been faking her death, stabbed her straight through with a sword. The demoness had been waiting for this exact moment. Yu Yue rushed forward in a panic, but she had already escaped, not forgetting to invite them to a final showdown with her young master at the river mouth. Back at her hideout, Qingmei immediately gathered her forces to welcome him. The young master was finally emerging from a 3-year seclusion. After a flashy and utterly ridiculous 7749 somersaults in the air, he finally deigned to touch the ground. Qingmei quickly bowed and reported that Zhao Shui Li was in possession of the divine pearl. The moment he heard her name, he flinched in absolute terror. But Qingmei quickly reassured him that she was already grievously wounded. Convinced he was no longer in danger, he immediately began plotting a wicked scheme to capture her for himself. But first, he needed to power up. He had more than a dozen mortals brought before him. Then, he revealed the demonic sect's ultimate treasure, the soul-devouring banner. As he raised the flag, the life force of every mortal was ripped from their bodies and absorbed into him. His cultivation soared to a new level. Death was now drawing ever closer for our heroes. Back at the inn, Yu Yue was pulling his hair out in frustration. He had checked on Shui Li, and she had stopped breathing. This meant the soul-devouring sect had no reason to hunt him anymore. As he stared at the Sword Fairy's motionless body, a dark and brilliant idea began to form. Wielding a knife, Yu Yue plotted to fake her death and frame himself for the crime. That way, her sect, the Wenjian sect, would hunt him to the ends of the earth. What kind of twisted logic is that? Old man, are you insane? I'm gonna jump out of the screen and cut you down myself. I absolutely have to save her, he thought, remembering a method called CPR. He immediately began compressing her chest with the force of a tire pump. He pushed so hard she coughed up a mouthful of blood. It was hard to tell if he was trying to save her or torture her. Suddenly, the giant divine pearl shot out from her chest, glowing with an otherworldly light. The glow was mesmerizing, but Yu Yue wasn't captivated. Instead, he was imagining a glorious future where demonic cultivators from all over would hunt him down and tear him limb from limb to steal the pearl. This was it. This was the most viable path to death. I'm a genius. Turning back to Shui Li, he decided he might as well see it through to the end. He began to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. But just as you'd expect, he blew so hard he inflated her like a balloon. Who could possibly survive this? When she still showed no signs of life, he began to weep dramatically. And that's when she woke up. She probably figured if she stayed unconscious any longer, his help would be the end of her. She recalled her childhood, cultivating diligently at the Wenjian sect. She had always been a model disciple, devoted to her master and her training, never straying into matters of the heart. Her Tao was pure. To slay demons, she would sacrifice anything. But in that strange, unconscious haze, the only face she could remember was Yu Yue's. She saw him desperately trying to save her, and then bursting into tears when he thought she had ascended. Why would he do that? Now fully awake, her face burned crimson. The more she thought about it, the more certain she was. Yu Yue was in love with her. Her heart was now a battlefield, torn between her sacred oath of cultivation and these new feelings for a man. But fighting against the visions of love in her mind was no easy task. No, to break my oath is to break my Tao heart. My 100 years of dedication cannot be destroyed in a single moment. Her resolve was firm. But when she looked up and saw Yu Yue's ruggedly handsome profile, her heart fluttered against her will. These treacherous eyes have betrayed me, she scolded herself, trying to focus and cast out these distracting thoughts. Meanwhile, Yu Yue saw her bizarre behavior and just assumed the poison was getting worse. Once she had calmed down, she asked Yu Yue to help her up. She confessed, after being stabbed by Shui Qingmei, my spiritual power is nearly gone. Therefore, I want you to take the divine pearl and travel to the Wenjian sect by another road. I will go to the river mouth and hold them off. Yu Yue immediately and fiercely protested. I don't care. Whatever your reason is, you're not getting rid of me. If we're going to die, we'll die together. Her eyes sparkled with unshed tears. She couldn't believe this man was willing to die for her. He was a truly peerless hero. Her heart exploded like New Year's fireworks, heralding a profound change. As she stared off into space, lost in her thoughts, Yu Yue called her name several times. Seeing her dazed expression, he went to get some water to snap her out of it. Seizing the opportunity, he called up his system for a quick consultation. I want to die, he said. Model, was that a violation of the rules? The system analyzed the act and declared it was simply protecting a comrade. Besides, his reasons for taking the risk were completely valid. Therefore, no penalty was given. Yu Yue returned to the room with some water, only to find her gaze had completely changed. She was staring at him with a strange, passionate intensity, completely lost in a world of bliss. It seems that once you let go of all your burdens, you can experience true freedom. In the sweetest voice imaginable, she beckoned him to come closer. She wanted to read him a poem she had just composed. Yu Yue thought it was a battle hymn to raise his spirits for the life or death fight tomorrow. But things were getting stranger by the second. Oh no, this was a trap. What in the world did she mean by that? Before he could even think of escaping, she grabbed him and pulled him straight onto the bed. Tonight, you and I shall become one. The moon was bright, the wind was cool, and the rustling leaves were mixed with some very strange moans. A mere 15 minutes later, Yu Yue looked like his very essence had been drained. He was as dry as a husk. Only now did he truly understand the sheer stamina of immortal cultivators. After the arduous work was finally done, she purred. After this, we're officially Tao companions, aren't we? Tao companions, my foot. This elder sister was supposed to be heavily injured, yet she was unbelievably wild. He barely got a word in. Exhausted but blissful, she called to Yu Yue, asking for a hug. It was a rare sight to see her this vulnerable. He promised her that tomorrow he would protect her and ensure she returned safely to the Sword Inquiry sect. The next morning, they arrived at the riverbank as promised. Their enemies were already waiting. The cult leader scoffed at her weakened state, boasting that a single finger would be enough to defeat her now. That seemed to strike a nerve. She channeled her energy and rushed forward, forcing him to use all 10 of his fingers just to block the attack. Even then, he was sent flying. He thought she was weak, but her strength was beyond his imagination. Suspecting he'd been tricked, the leader flew into a rage and mercilessly drained the spirit energy of his own subordinate. Without a shred of pity, he complained that it wasn't even enough for a snack. You're next, he roared, his entire body erupting in a brilliant aura as he charged toward her. His speed was overwhelming. Caught off guard, Shueli took a direct hit. The devastating blow left her gravely injured, coughing up blood. The situation was critical. Yu Yue rushed forward to block his path, shouting, "Stop! I'll give you the divine orb. You seem to know your place. Hand it over, and I'll grant you a swift death." "Only a fool would trust you," Yu Yue shot back. "Let us go first, and I'll tell you where it's hidden. If you kill us and manage to find it, it's sealed in a divine box. If you try to force it open without the key, the divine orb will self-destruct." And incredibly, the leader actually bought it, thinking it was some new kind of sealing technique. Seizing the moment, Yu Yue pressed his advantage. Compared to killing Zhao Shueli, the divine orb holds far more value for your sect's future, don't you think? The leader had to admit the boy had a point, but I can't just let both of you go. Then I have a solution, Yu Yue proposed. Let Zhao Shueli leave. I will stay behind and lead you to the treasure. The leader quickly weighed his options. Obtaining the divine orb would give him the power to annihilate the Sword Inquiry sect. A brilliant suggestion, he praised, agreeing to the deal. To seal it, Yu Yue made him sign a magical contract. The contract forbade him from ever pursuing Zhao Shueli again. All the while, she was completely confused by the men's lengthy discussion. With everything settled, Yu Yue told her she was safe, and that they could both return to the sect. Xueli was overjoyed, her heart swelling with pride for her hero. She showered him with praise when suddenly, thwack! Yu Yue chopped the back of her neck, knocking her unconscious. "Forgive me," he whispered. "We may share feelings for one another, but this is the last thing I can do for you in this life." He suddenly froze when he saw Xueli turning back around. Huh? Why didn't that work like it does in the videos? Luckily, he'd borrowed the soul bewitching powder from the young sect master. Yu Yue took a deep breath and blew a cloud of it right into her face. The sleeping mist instantly took effect. Cradling her in his arms, he thought, "This is the only way to keep you safe." He carefully placed her on a small boat and pushed it out onto the river, certain it would carry her back to the Sword Inquiry sect. Suddenly, whoosh! The boat shot forward at the speed of light, splashing water everywhere. There was even a little turtle on board. There was no doubt about it. This boat was built different. As the boat vanished from sight, the cult leader grew impatient. "Hurry up and lead the way. I have to get back for dinner." At that moment, Yu Yue began to enact his true plan. He turned around with a calm smile. "My apologies, but I can't allow the divine orb to fall into the hands of the demonic soul sect." Realizing he'd been played for a fool, the leader's face twisted with rage. He unleashed his full power, roaring that he would utterly obliterate this mortal soul, erasing him from the cycle of reincarnation forever. As his eyes began to glow, Yu Yue actually thought he looked pretty cool and wished he'd just get on with it. But wait a second. Did he just say, erase him from reincarnation? He suddenly remembered the system had promised to protect his soul so he could be reborn. SOS. A massive wave of demonic energy slammed straight towards him, causing a terrifying explosion. It was too late to stop him. But just then, a brilliant golden light erupted from within Yu Yue's body, radiating an energy as sharp as a divine sword. The blinding flash stunned the cult leader and his men. By the time they realized what was happening, they had already been vaporized into nothingness. In an instant, his enemies were wiped from existence, and the girl was gone. Just then, he heard a familiar voice call his name. The opportunity is here. Yu Yue turned around, shocked to see Xueli. Apparently, the massive explosion had woken her from her slumber. Yu Yue explained that a mysterious golden light had turned the demonic soul sect to ash. Then he muttered under his breath, cursing those demonic sect idiots for ruining his perfect plan. Beside him, Xueli gazed at him adoringly, thinking he looked handsome no matter what he did, and then she promptly fainted again, so her handsome hero would have to carry her. So now, he was forced to carry his new boss on his back through treacherous mountains and streams. Xueli guided him to a large rock in a clearing and began forming hand seals. She placed her palm on the stone, and a brilliant light erupted from beneath it, shooting a beam straight into the sky. It was a summoning signal. In an instant, 3 powerful elders from her sect appeared. They immediately flocked around Xueli, completely ignoring Yu Yue. He felt a pang of disappointment, which grew even stronger when they simply flew off with her. Do all cultivators look down on mortals like this? He wondered. But wait, someone was coming back. At least one of them had some manners. A long-haired man landed, only to be immediately bombarded by a series of messages from his communication stone, asking him to cook dinner and wash the dishes. The constant nagging was deafening. All right, I'm coming," he snapped. Though he called himself Elder Guang, Yu Yue figured he was basically the sect's head butler. This was Yu Yue's first time experiencing sword flight, and it was absolutely thrilling. It was way better than any bumpy carriage ride. He expected an immortal sect to be a place of quiet serenity. But when Elder Guang opened a tiny door, oh my god, inside was a vast, sprawling paradise, shimmering with gold and jade. The place was unbelievably luxurious. A group of beautiful maids immediately rushed out to greet them. "Welcome, Elder Guang. The sect master is awaiting your arrival in the water pavilion." Seeing so many beauties almost gave him a nosebleed. He had to take a moment to compose himself. "Hold on," Yu Yue exclaimed. "Isn't this like the palace of some corrupt emperor, built on the blood, sweat, and tears of the common folk?" To his surprise, Elder Guang completely agreed with him. Yu Yue and his little turtle companion followed Elder Guang to meet the sect master. He was an old man with a long beard, dressed in pure white robes, the very image of a powerful expert. After a brief greeting, Yu Yue began to wave his arms about, dramatically retelling the story of his perilous journey to rescue the Sword Fairy. It was a tale of incredible hardship and danger. Oh, and I almost forgot about this. This accursed poison can devour a person's very soul. Zhao Xueli is critically wounded. Her spirit is in chaos. It's too dangerous to keep her. I must entrust her to you, honorable sect leader. I am in your debt." The sect leader, moved by my deed, wished to grant me a reward. But the one thing I truly desire, death, is something he could never give. I recalled a moment on my journey with Elder Guang. We passed the sect gates just as they carried in a disciple, who was on the brink of death. The sect leader knew instantly he had fallen while fighting demons, a noble sacrifice for the righteous path. "Give this disciple a grand funeral," he ordered. And that's when it hit me. My face, a mask of solemnity. I stepped forward to join the sect, but inside, my heart was soaring. This was it. This was the perfect place to achieve a glorious end. After a quick interview, I was in. The elder agreed to let me join the entrance exam with the new recruits the very next day. "Thank you, sect leader," I said, before being dismissed. But Elder Guang was told to stay. The moment I was out of sight, the sect leader clutched his head in agony, his face contorting in pain, leaving Elder Guang utterly stunned. "Sect leader, what's wrong? You are a man of immense power. Even if Mount Tai itself were to crumble before you, your expression would never falter." It turns out, the old man was worried. He suspected I was a spy from the demon clan, because no mere mortal could have survived what I did. "Just look at this luminous pearl," the leader said, holding it out. A mesmerizing power radiated from it, and Elder Guang was instantly captivated. The sect leader slapped him so hard his ears rang, snapping him out of the trance. Despite being a mortal, that boy was completely unaffected by the pearl's charm. Only a cultivator with a Tao heart of the heavenly realm could possess such resistance. Elder Guang vehemently refused to believe it. "Impossible." I checked him. He knows nothing of cultivation. Of all the cultivators with a heavenly realm Tao heart I have known, there have only been 4. They are the Sword Demon, the Grand Supreme Taoist, the Swordless Taoist, and our sect's own founding ancestor, Dong Yuzi. If this is our fortune, I can see him leading our Sword Inquiry sect to a level of glory we've never even dreamed of. It's a realm I dare not even imagine at my current state. But if this is a calamity, I see a vision of our Sword Inquiry sect, with bodies piled like mountains, our entire lineage severed. Regardless, he represents a turning point for our sect. I will do my best to protect and guide him until he achieves enlightenment. At that moment, I, Yue, was being cornered by 2 disciples who were arguing about me joining the trial. But the moment they learned it was an order from the sect leader himself, their attitudes changed faster than flipping a pancake as they respectfully invited me inside. The area was packed with all sorts of examinees. There was even a snail person over there. An elder announced, "All of you present here must pass this final trial. You must conquer the sword-forging peak." Gazing up, I was in awe. This thing was even taller than Mount Everest, a true wonder of the world. "Listen carefully. Within 1 hour, you must use every ounce of your ability to climb. The top 80 performers will officially join the sect." I, Yue, was feeling incredibly confident. After carrying Shuili, who's as heavy as a pig, through treacherous mountains, this giant rock was nothing. But I was wrong. After just 3 steps, I was panting like a dog. I just couldn't understand. How could it be this difficult? With my stamina, there's no way I should be at the back of the pack. This trial is definitely rigged. But even if I die, I must complete it. Wait a minute. Dying from exhaustion right here? That's not a bad way to go either. At that moment, 3 elders were observing the trial through a glowing portal. As they explained, the mountain was a special magical artifact. The first 200 steps relentlessly increase the pressure to test one's physical body. The next 200 steps are known as the 7 Emotions Peak Trial, designed to test a candidate's mental fortitude. No wonder I felt like coughing up a lung after just a few steps. Meanwhile, someone had already reached the 200th step, Zuo Yuhang, and she still looked full of energy. The long-bearded elder was confident she was the most outstanding candidate, the best seed for cultivation in this batch. But the curly-haired woman had her eyes on Fang Qingshu, who had trained in the Sword Inquiry sect since he was a child. Yuhang continued, stepping onto the first step of the mental trial. Suddenly, the scenery warped. She found herself adorned in imperial robes. This was her deepest desire, to kill the celestial emperor, seize the throne, and save her mother, a mere palace maid. Could her dream become reality so easily? Just then, her mother ran to her, pulling her into a warm, loving embrace that filled her with happiness. But she failed to notice the demonic glint that flashed in her mother's eyes. Outside the illusion, her body stood frozen as a dark aura billowed from within her. Her eyes were vacant, completely devoid of life. Seeing this, the long-bearded elder was deeply disappointed. This foolish girl. This is just the first trial, and she has already become lost in it. The old woman beside him just chuckled. Your disciple is young, her heart is burdened by worldly attachments, and her Tao heart is unstable. My Qingshu is far superior. And just as she said, the young man named Qingshu stepped forward with unshakable confidence. Suddenly, countless beautiful women appeared before him, flocking to his side. They tried to seduce him with every trick in the book, but with a single slash of his sword, he tore through their clothes, forcing the elder to frantically censor the sensitive spots. The following steps brought illusions of wealth and fame, but he ruthlessly cut them down as well. Is this illusion all you've got? Whatever trials you have, bring them on. But then, a voice called out from behind him. My son. Qingshu was startled. The old woman, however, was still smiling, completely unaware of the disaster about to befall her disciple, while the bearded elder fumed that his own disciple hadn't moved a single step. Meanwhile, I was trembling, dragging myself forward with the sheer willpower to die, and I had finally reached the 200th step. But as I stepped onto the next one, my clothes vanished into thin air. What the hell? My clothes and even my little bird, 𝒆𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒂𝒃, are gone. I was now facing a celestial hot spring filled with stunning beauties, beckoning me to join them in dual cultivation. When I didn't move, one of them took the initiative, pressing her assets right against me, freezing me in place. Give me a break, I yelled. Just give me back my 𝒆𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒂𝒃. Without hesitation, I sent the illusionary woman flying with a single punch. Another one, a dreamy girl with purple hair, tried to charm me with her big, round eyes. But those eyes quickly shrank to the size of beans when she saw what was flying towards her. A kick. Straight. To the face. I put all my strength into it without a shred of mercy, still demanding my bird and my clothes back. The illusion finally shattered, and I emerged, looking like a total badass. Women are fleeting, but the path of cultivation is eternal. At last, 𝒆𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒂𝒃, completely unharmed. Overjoyed, I embraced my companion. Let's keep climbing. No matter what, we have to pass this trial and see our plan through. The old woman was the first to notice the strange boy. He was scrambling up the mountain at a terrifying speed and was about to catch up to Qingshu. The other two elders were secretly impressed. The one chosen by the sect leader was truly no ordinary person. At that moment, Elder Guang also arrived, his heart pounding with anxiety. If this UUA kid passed the trial, the sect would be finished. With only 3 people left to pass, I'd be at the top. For a moment, I considered playing the classic xianxia protagonist and hiding my true power, when my second personality materialized and slapped me square across the face. Hiding your power? Are you a coward who's afraid to die or something? Rubbing my swollen cheek, I came to my senses. He was right. I'm going for first place. He started accelerating again. The old woman's eyes went wide with shock as she saw me sprint forward, determined to reach the very peak of society. Impossible! He's actually going to pass Qingshu. All 3 of them watched with bated breath, secretly hoping the strange boy would trip on a rock and tumble a few hundred steps down. But I shattered their hopes. I blew past Fang Qingshu, who was still lost in his illusion, and claimed the #1 spot, making all 3 elders' eyes bulge with sheer terror. Elder Guang was sweating bullets, focusing intently on my every move as I reached the next step. With a time of 600, he shattered a sect record that had stood for 1,000 years. And he didn't stop there. He strutted and posed, even throwing hearts like a professional figure skater. It was over. Watching him reach the final step, the entire crowd was floored, their souls practically leaving their bodies. Elder Guang was utterly speechless. Just then, Du Yue found himself surrounded by 3 powerful figures. They were the very same elders who had just been clamoring to take this generational talent under their wing. But first, they had to test his potential. The moment the needle pricked his skin, he let out a terrified shriek. A single drop of his blood landed on the emerald stone, which immediately began to glow. After a tense moment, the 3 of them dismissed Du Yue. The second he was out of sight, they collapsed in utter disappointment. No heavenly talent had manifested at all. He was completely worthless. Seeing this, Elder Guang rejoiced internally. He planned to report this to the sect master and have the boy expelled. But the master refused, advising him to simply accept fate and let Du Yue stay. If he failed to achieve a breakthrough in 5 years, he'd be automatically kicked out anyway. But for now, he was to be kept under constant surveillance to prevent any trouble. Back in his own quarters, Du Yue finally let himself relax. He remembered the spirit recording stone that Shui Li had given him, which was basically a cultivator's smartphone. But no matter how many times he called, she didn't answer. He could only hope she was safe and that they could meet again soon too, pick up where they left off. Meanwhile, in the training room, Zhuo Yuhan was not inspecting Yu'er. She couldn't understand what cultivation technique made her so well-rounded, but Yu'er insisted it was all natural. Suddenly, the door burst open as Du Yue appeared, striking a cool pose that startled the two girls, causing them to awkwardly bump into each other. Had he walked into the wrong room? Yuhan spun around, furious at the rude intruder. "Do you have to open doors so violently?" she snapped. "My apologies," he replied coolly. "I didn't see you there. Please, continue." He immediately turned his back, slicking his hair back and basking in the glory as the other disciples recognized him as the #1 examinee. But Yuhan had a temper as hot as her name. She drew her blade, ready for a duel, refusing to accept that a mere mortal had won through sheer luck. He just taunted her. "Come on then. My neck is right here." That was the last straw. Enraged, Yuhan lunged, unleashing a deadly technique meant to end the arrogant fool. But in a flash, his body's primal hunter instincts flared to life, allowing him to dodge the fatal blow. He was still reeling from his own reflexes when Yuhan attacked again from behind. By the time he turned, it was too late. She was on him in an instant, her blade aimed straight for his neck. Seizing the opportunity, Du Yue offered up his throat, ready to bid farewell to Season 2. But to his utter dismay, Qingshu appeared in a flash, blocking the strike and shattering his hopes for the nth time. "Junior sister, a blade like yours shouldn't be used on fellow disciples. Save it for the demon gate." His words made sense, so she lowered her weapon, and definitely not because he was her senior brother. Seeing the tension, Du Yue tried to play peacemaker, but it was no use. The argument only escalated. Finally, Yuhan declared a wager. In 5 years, she would absolutely surpass him. Just then, Elder Guang stormed in, scolding the students. "How dare you turn the Wenjian sect into a gambling den? If you want to bet so badly, then wager your lives." At those words, Du Yue's eyes lit up. This was the opportunity he'd been waiting for. The elder led them all to a deep abyss, introducing the single-log bridge, a trial created by the founder to help disciples achieve a breakthrough. Before he could even ask for volunteers, Du Yue's hand shot up. The boy showed no hesitation. In fact, he looked absolutely thrilled. Everyone saw it as the unshakable will of a righteous spirit. Annoyed, Yuhan stepped forward, determined not to lose to this low-talent fool. As the second-ranked disciple, Qingshu refused to back down either, and accepted the challenge. The top 3 disciples would now face off in a thrilling competition. As it began, the crowd cheered. As expected, Qingshu was crossing the bridge with ease. But suddenly, he glanced down and saw something terrifying in the abyss. He froze, lost his balance, and stumbled. Before falling, as Qingshu plummeted, a pair of crimson eyes opened in the darkness below. A monstrous beak snapped open, swallowing him whole in a single gulp. It was a bizarre, 3-eyed crane, and the sight of it sent a wave of terror through the crowd. Yuhan nearly threw up, having just watched her senior brother get eaten alive. Silence. "You wanted a wager? Did you think I was joking about betting your lives? This is the reality you will face as cultivators." Even Du Yue felt a pang of regret. A righteous man like Qingshu didn't deserve such a fate. But this was the harsh world of cultivation. And now, it was time to execute his own plan. This bridge was designed to amplify the fear in one's heart. A mere mortal would never be able to cross it. If he fell to his death, the Wenjian sect would be spared a future disaster. Lost in his calculations, Elder Guang was startled by the crowd's cheers. Impossible. Du Yue was already safely across the bridge. The elder was speechless, utterly baffled by what just happened. Just 30 minutes earlier, Du Yue was mocking the narrow bridge, only to be buffeted by the strong winds. He swayed back and forth, and then, whether by accident or on purpose, he slipped and fell. The disciples screamed in terror, but Elder Guang's eyes lit up like high beams, his heart soaring with joy. But just as Du Yue was about to achieve his goal, his body's blasted survival instincts kicked in again. He grabbed the bridge, did a perfect somersault, and landed back on his feet. The smiles on both Du Yue and Elder Guang's faces instantly vanished. Just then, the system appeared with a furious expression, warning him, "Do not attempt to commit suicide. I am watching you." Du Yue put on an innocent face, promising he wouldn't dare, while silently vowing to see just how long the system could keep its eyes on him. He couldn't relax. If the system knew he was dying on purpose, there would be no compensation. He just had to wait for the same fate as Qingshu. But he was already halfway across the bridge, and nothing had happened. Annoyed, he was about to start doing the Michael Jackson moonwalk on the bridge, when a disembodied leg flew out of thin air and kicked him square in the face. The impact sent him flying off the bridge. What the hell? Everyone stared, wondering if anyone could save him now. Suddenly, a giant hand made of pure energy materialized. It caught Du Yue, then gently placed him on the other side of the bridge. He was so frustrated he could cry. He screamed into the abyss, cursing whoever dared to save him. Meanwhile, Elder Guang stood frozen in shock, unable to comprehend why he had just unconsciously used his own energy to save that very boy. Model. Determined not to lose face, Wuha stepped forward without a hint of fear, but with his very first step, he plummeted into the chasm. Another life, snuffed out in an instant. What incredible speed! Yu Yue watched, his eyes burning with envy, and decided to gamble with his life once more. With a surge of desperation, he stopped trying to balance, and just sprinted forward with everything he had. He ran straight to Elder Guang, who hadn't even sent anyone to retrieve him yet. The elder's face darkened, shocked that this kid still had so much energy after surviving such a perilous trial. How could he possibly? Before he could finish his thought, Yu Yue stomped over, overflowing with disappointment. I quit. This bridge is a total waste of time. It just makes my legs tired and does nothing else. Suddenly, another disciple shouted in shock as he saw steam rising from Yu Yue's head. He's self-immolating my foot. This was the cultivation effect of the single log bridge, activating, causing Yu Yue to ascend to the first heaven of the human realm. Normally, this breakthrough would take 3 long months, but he had achieved it in just half an hour. A disciple protested, "This is completely unfair," but Elder Guang simply explained, "This opportunity was available to everyone. He overcame the trial, which proves he is worthy of this reward." As he spoke, the elder summoned a giant eagle with his qi, which flew up and coughed out 2 figures who had just fallen. Thank goodness, Fang Qingshu and Zuo Yuhan were still alive. Elder Guang immediately scolded them for their toxic jealousy, telling them they were unworthy of being disciples of the Sword Inquisition sect. It was then Yu Yue realized the old elder had orchestrated everything. He must have been the one who saved me when I fell. That night, under the cover of darkness, he thought, I have to sneak back here and cross it again. Yue, who was nearby, overheard him and was filled with admiration. She coyly suggested they cultivate together that night at his place. But he wasn't having it. Sorry, but this flower already has an owner. Junior sister, don't waste your efforts. Arriving back at his quarters, he immediately called his girl to ask about Elder Guang. Elder Guang? He's known for being cautious and incredibly responsible. He's also very kind. All the disciples go to him if they ever have a problem. With that out of the way, the 2 lovebirds began, feeding the readers a ton of fluff, talking until the next morning without a wink of sleep. Meanwhile, the fiery Bing Jiling was fuming. That damn Yu Yue had no respect for anyone. She had invited him to a party, and he'd blown her off again and again. Her adorable junior sister chimed in, defending him. Senior sister Zuo, don't say that. Senior brother Yu is just extremely passionate about his cultivation. But before she could argue back, a powerful force slammed into them. Turns out, they were supposed to be training, not gossiping like it was a marketplace. The path of cultivation has a total of 5 realms, and each realm is divided into 10 heavens. The ultimate peak is the 10th heaven of the heavenly realm. At this very moment, Yu Yue was casually admiring flowers and chasing butterflies while his peers were training until they coughed up blood. He was afraid that if he trained too hard, he'd become too powerful to die, so he spent his days slacking off. But his peaceful day was shattered by a ruler smacking him flat, followed by a furious roar. You worthless Yu Yue. You passed the first heaven of the human realm on the log bridge, and now you think you can just fly? Do you really believe you can reach the heavenly realm just by strolling across that bridge every day? Everyone else ran over to watch the drama unfold. The master is being harsh, but he's right. If you haven't entered the Dharma realm and passed the sect's secret trial, you can't become an official disciple. And if you fail to reach the Dharma realm within 5 years, you'll be expelled from the Sword Inquisition sect. 3 months of grueling practice had passed, but the result left Yu Yue utterly crushed. I've crossed that cursed bridge 450 times without a single incident, so now I've accidentally leveled up to the 6th heaven of the human realm. Meanwhile, 2 disciples listening in the back were terrified. They had been training day and night and had only just reached the 3rd heaven. I thought the gap between us was small, but now I see we're not even living in the same world. They were so lost in despair that when Yu Yue spoke, they jumped, realizing they'd been caught. Yuhan couldn't take it anymore. Filled with frustration, she stood up to confront him. My own dedication and strength are not any weaker than yours, so why are you the only one who can cross that bridge? What is your secret? Not knowing how to explain, he decided to bluff. I have no great dedication to the path. In fact, I have 0 interest in cultivation. My life's motto has always been, without some foolishness, there is no success. As they listened, the 2 felt as if they'd been enlightened by the profound wisdom of Yu Yue. On a full moon night, deep within the inner courtyard, 2 mysterious figures appeared, plotting against the sect. The item on the 6th floor of the secret realm must be obtained. I will await your good news, my master. The Sword Inquisition sect's secret realm was discovered by the founder, 1,000 years ago. It was a sacred land that had absorbed immense spiritual energy, a place of profound mystery filled with treasures. But within this realm lurked countless demons and monstrous beasts, a land fraught with peril. However, anyone who could pass its trials would not only achieve a massive breakthrough in their cultivation, but their combat abilities would also evolve to a whole new level. By tradition, only disciples at the fifth heaven or above were allowed to enter. But this time, an exception was made for the mortal, Yue. However, he stubbornly refused to go. Qingshu grabbed one of his legs, pleading, "Brother Yu, you said it yourself. Without foolishness, there is no success. Someone as dedicated as you has no reason to skip this trial." Yuhan grabbed his other leg, holding on for dear life, refusing to let go until he agreed to go. But Yue, stretched out like a noodle, was still being stubborn. "I'd rather die than go." It was only when they pulled out a sharp needle, threatening to give him some convincing acupuncture, that he finally caved. Terrified, he obediently agreed. Leading the expedition this time was none other than Elder Guang. Normally, only those who have reached the Path Realm can enter this trial. This is a rare opportunity, so you all must seize it. The group gathered and stepped through a portal into a dense forest, dominated by a massive mountain. At its peak was a surveillance array, where the great elders could watch over them and offer aid. The trial is about to begin. Good luck. The first level of the secret realm was dotted with numerous checkpoints. Each one hid a precious emerald. Collect 5, and throw them into the volcano's peak to pass the stage and receive a reward. At that moment, Yue was being chased by a demon, running for his life because his system had forbidden him from seeking death on his own. Outside, the elders watched with encouragement. The first level was just a test of basic skills. This batch of disciples had a solid foundation. The first stage should be no problem for them. With the time of one incense stick nearly up, everyone returned to show off their spoils. Despite the danger, the disciples had done well, each managing to secure 1 emerald. They were covered in wounds, but Saint Yue looked like he hadn't even broken a sweat. In fact, he was hiding the fact that he had effortlessly collected all 5 emeralds. Truly, some have all the luck while others have none. Suddenly, a tremor shot down from the volcano. The disciples were terrified. Even Elder Guang was shocked by the violent shift, something he had never witnessed before. A deafening explosion erupted, followed by the volcano spewing lava. It was a sign that the secret realm was collapsing. "Everyone, get behind me!" Elder Guang roared, gathering the disciples as he quickly formed hand seals, channeling his qi to create a defensive barrier. As volcanic rocks rained down from the sky, chaos erupted outside the secret realm. Witnessing the cataclysm, a senior elder barked out orders with urgency. Team 1, assist the 4th level spirit realm disciples in their retreat. Team 2, continue the search for Elder Guang and the human realm disciples. Team 3, investigate the cause of this disaster. A long-bearded elder pleaded with a matriarch, his voice trembling with fear. "Please, use your power to find my disciple. Even with my heavenly eye formation, I can't see a thing." This meant the worst had likely come to pass. The heavenly eye had already shown Elder Guang's situation was dire. Inside the chaotic realm, the disciples were scattered, fending off demonic beasts pouring from the rifts. Fortunately, Elder Guang was still standing, his voice a beacon of calm. "Stay calm. I will help you eliminate these creatures. I swear, I will get every single one of you out of here." Inspired by their master's unwavering resolve, the disciples united as one, ready to fight. But he ordered them back. "Stay put. You are all still too weak." Yue knew his master well. If he foolishly rushed in to die, the elder would surely risk his own life to save him, so he held back. Still, he couldn't help but think how cliché this all was. This secret realm had been stable for years. Why would it fail now? As if things weren't chaotic enough, the ground suddenly cracked and split apart. An enormous chasm opened, swallowing those who couldn't react in time. Elder Guang watched in horror, so distracted that he failed to notice a beast lunging from his blind spot. It sank its fangs deep into his shoulder, drawing blood. He managed to slice the monster in two, but the force of the impact sent them all plummeting into the abyss. Yuhan was the first to awaken, blushing when he felt a face pressed right into his chest. Yue also jolted awake, as if from a nightmare of being slapped by a monster. The lingering pain, however, felt all too real. He looked around and saw they were in some kind of mystical, ancient structure. Suddenly, a shout echoed out, "We found the elder!" Everyone rushed over to find him motionless in a pool of his own blood. Yuhan was overcome with worry. "Elder Guang, are you all right? Please, wake up." With what little strength he had, the elder wheezed, "Stop shaking me. I'm not dead. Yet. But I will be soon if you keep it up. I'm fine. It's just a flesh wound. Elder Guang scanned his surroundings, his eyes landing on a mural depicting the 3 Huns and 7 spirits. I know this place, he declared. We've fallen into the Spirit King Palace, a trial ground for the tenfold spirit realm. But don't worry, I have already reached the Master Realm. A pathetic trick like this is beneath me. But Yue, terrified, stammered, the 3 souls and 7 spirits. Will it scatter our very essence? Soul scattering? No. But if your luck is poor, you will undoubtedly die here. Yue was so lost in his relief, he didn't notice the grotesque head behind him, its jaws wide open, ready to strike. But in a blur of motion, Elder Guang snatched him away. He moved so fast, the monster didn't even see him. This is it, he warned. The trial of the tenfold spirit realm. I didn't expect it to begin so soon. This trial involves specialized spiritual entities. The 3 Huns and 7 spirits correspond to 3 major spiritual demons, and 7 wandering spirits. They will attempt to possess your bodies and seize control. If a challenger can maintain their sanity and reach the high platform before us, they will pass the trial. But if you fail, your body will be taken over by the spirit, meaning you will become its host, trapped here for eternity. As if on cue, the spirits materialized, surrounding them and lunging forward to attack. Elder Guang channeled his energy, fighting desperately to intercept them and protect his disciples. Suddenly, a colossal demonic hand slammed down from above. It moved so fast he couldn't evade it. Qingshu gasped in shock. How have these spiritual beings evolved into powerful physical forms? Meanwhile, outside the secret realm, panic was spreading. There's still no sign of them. A Dao realm elder and a once-in-a-millennium genius are in there. Why? Why in my first year overseeing the trial? Did a disaster of this magnitude have to happen? The matriarch continued to focus her divine eye, but something was blocking her vision. Either that, or they're already gone. Back in the cave, screams echoed as the disciples fled for their lives from the pursuing spirits. Suddenly, one of the phantoms was sliced in 2. It was Elder Guang, saving Yue and Qingshu once again. He had arrived just in time, but the horde of monsters was growing, and their regeneration abilities were insane. No matter how many times he cut them down, it was useless. Then, a new monster appeared, one that could breathe true fire, forcing Elder Guang onto the defensive. His strength was clearly fading. Just as he dealt with the fire breather, he heard Yuhan's blood-curdling scream. Something terrifying was charging at the disciples. "Don't worry, I'm here!" Elder Guang roared. He moved like a flash of light, shredding the demon to pieces and saving them all in an instant. Then, forming a hand seal, he unleashed the 8 trigrams shield. A torrent of light shot from his arm, swirling into a massive trigram barrier. It would temporarily block the monster's attacks, but the technique was draining Elder Guang's spiritual power at an alarming rate. Seeing his master sacrificing so much, Yuhan was filled with righteous fury, ready to fight to the death to carve a bloody path for his comrades. But Elder Guang stopped him. "Wait, I know another way out," he explained. "According to the rules of the Spirit King Palace's trial, simply reaching the high platform isn't enough. To complete the trial and repel the spirits, one must ring the soul-suppressing bell that rests upon it. And after that, you must withstand the platform's lightning tribulation. Only then will you receive the Spirit King Palace's reward and open the exit. The problem is, there are too many of these spirits. We can't kill them all, and if I make a move for the platform, they will turn their assault on all of you." Yue understood. If someone could just reach that platform and ring the bell, we can get out of here. In that case, I'll go. Everyone froze, stunned by his declaration. But instead of praise, Elder Guang smacked him right across the mouth. "Watch your reckless tongue," the elder snapped. "You're only at the 6th layer of the human realm. You haven't even cultivated mana yet. And you dare to show off? The moment you step out there, those spirits will tear you to shreds. And even if you made it, how could you possibly withstand the lightning tribulation?" Yue shot back. "Do you have a better plan? To save us. You've been severely injured. You can't maintain that shield forever. Once it breaks, we all die. The path ahead is our only chance, and it's the fastest way." Elder Guang was taken aback. The boy had a point. He felt a pang of guilt for his past prejudice against the kid. Seeing his unyielding determination, he finally agreed. "I will forge a path for you." "That's more than enough, Master." Seeing this, the 2 siblings burned with fighting spirit, wanting to stand shoulder to shoulder with Yue. The Master nodded his approval. The plan was set. It was time for action. In an instant, 4 figures shot forward, cutting through the demonic horde and shattering the siege of the Spirit King's phantoms. He wore a mask of grim determination, but inside, he was laughing like a madman. Even if he managed to pass the 10th Heaven Spirit Realm trial, Keeping his life was another story entirely. While lost in thought, a demon lunged straight for him. Distracted by the breakthrough, Qing Shu couldn't even muster his spiritual energy to defend himself. All he could do was shove Yu Yue aside and take the blow. A blood-curdling scream echoed out. Yu Yue looked back to see a demon's claw had torn one of Qing Shu's arms clean off. Nearby, Wu Han was fighting with everything she had. She struggled to protect Yu Yue, who finally grasped the gravity of this mission. He couldn't just stand by and watch others sacrifice themselves for him. No matter what, he had to save his comrades. Fueled by the power of friendship, Yu Yue sprinted and finally set foot on the high platform. There it was, the soul-suppressing bell that Elder Guang mentioned. He immediately grabbed it. Below, a dense horde of monsters was still swarming his three companions. Without a moment's hesitation, Yu Yue began to shake the bell. Instantly, the demonic screams died down. The Spirit King's palace fell eerily silent. The demon that was about to strike, Wu Han froze in place, making her heart leap into her throat. It worked, they all cheered. The plan was a complete success. But suddenly the demon trembled, shattering the icy seal and continuing its charge toward Wu Han. Terrified, Yu Yue shook the bell with all his might, his mind racing. What was he supposed to do now? Why weren't they being vanquished? Then he saw it. It must be the prayer beads. The moment the demons saw him, they flew towards him, siphoning his very soul. He started to feel dizzy as his life force was drained away. As his energy faded, Yu Yue prayed that his friends outside would make it out safely. After a moment, when nothing else happened, he slowly opened his eyes and froze in shock at the sight before him. All the demons had merged together, forming a grotesque and colossal demon king. The air around it was thick with killing intent. He could feel it preparing to devour his soul. Yu Yue was speechless. You greedy bastards, he thought. You could have just taken my body and let me reincarnate smoothly, but no, you had to make things complicated. Suddenly, a torrent of divine lightning crashed down from above, striking the monster with a deafening roar. A brilliant golden aura erupted from Yu Yue's body, blinding everyone. Just then, Wu Han spotted a light on the cliff wall. It was the exit. It was finally open. Elder Guang immediately ordered everyone to escape before the Spirit King's palace collapsed. But Yu Yue was still trapped in his own consciousness, despondent. He had sacrificed his own soul to kill the enemy, but it had cost him a dear friend. Suddenly, the system blared to life. A piercing warning echoed in his mind. Analysis indicates host is exhibiting suicidal tendencies. Please disable this warning within 3 minutes, or you will be terminated for breach of contract. And just like that, the system went silent again, without explaining how to turn the warning off. Meanwhile, the countdown timer was already under 2 minutes, driving Yu Yue insane as he tried everything, even headbutting the system interface. Outside, Wu Han was frantically dragging his unconscious body towards the exit. It's unclear if it was being dragged on his butt or the headbutt, but Yu Yue finally woke up. His friends joyfully told him he'd completed the challenge, but the Spirit King's palace was collapsing. With just 1 minute left on the clock, the system finally decided to speak up again. There are 2 ways to disable the system warning: escape within the remaining time, or prove your will to live. A flash of lightning shot past, startling everyone. They thought the monsters were attacking again, but it wasn't. It was Yu Yue, sprinting like a madman for the exit. Damn this oppressive system, he thought. But a 100-meter dash in 15 seconds? Easy game. As the timer ticked closer to 0, Yu Yue pushed himself faster, racing towards the light. But in a flash, the light was snuffed out. A colossal shadow loomed from above, forcing him to a screeching halt. What the hell was that? A massive boulder was falling, sealing the cave entrance. If he kept going, he would be crushed to death. He stood there, stunned, knowing he didn't have the strength to escape, when a hand suddenly pushed him. In that split second, a brilliant light enveloped him, and he was thrown clear of the entrance just as the timer hit 1 second. Congratulations, host. You have passed the test. The warning has been disabled. Hearing this brought him no joy, only sickening rage. Damn you, system. But who was it that pushed him just now? From an observation platform, a loud shout was heard. We found them. Someone just appeared at the cave entrance. It's the 6th floor of the Spirit King's palace secret realm. But the palace is collapsing. Immediately, 2 elders declared they would personally rescue the disciples. But they were stopped when news came that the rescue team was blocked by a rockslide. An old woman held them back, saying they needed someone to command the operation from here. It seemed they were all injured by the collapse and couldn't act. They had to quickly command the rescue disciples to pinpoint their location. At the entrance to the Spirit King's palace, Yu Yue resolved to go back inside to save everyone, but the system stopped him. It judged his actions as having suicidal tendencies. This rescue attempt severely exceeds the behavior of a normal, helpful person. Hearing this, Yu didn't care. He cursed the cold, heartless machine and decided to run back in anyway. Using every last ounce of his strength, he successfully moved the boulder, blocking the entrance, and charged back in to save them one by one. All the while, the system's warning blared incessantly. This place can only hold for 2 more minutes at most before it completely collapses. Only Elder Guang is left. If you die in there, this system will definitely count you as having violated the rules. With a determined gaze, Yu continued to pull everyone out, challenging the system. You won't get that chance. Dashing deep inside, he finally found Elder Guang and prepared to carry him out. The elder whispered, "Put me down. There's not enough time. One person might not even make it out." "No. I will get you out of here. My stamina is about to hit its limit, so you'll have to bear with me." Elder Guang suddenly flinched, realizing something was very wrong. Yu grabbed the elder, hoisted him high, and launched him with all his might, like a human cannonball, trying to save time. But tragically, the elder slammed into a rock, his fate unknown. At that exact moment, a final, massive tremor hit, and countless tons of rock came crashing down on Yu. So, this is it, he thought. A moment later, he awoke to a world of dust and debris, the cave entrance completely sealed. Yu, I always saw you as a great threat to the sword-seeking sect, so I never wanted you to stay. But now, I understand your character. Kid, you better not die in there. Inside, Yu was still conscious, but covered in severe cuts and bruises. This time, I'm really dead, he thought. Although his legs were crushed beneath a massive boulder, he couldn't feel a thing anymore. But he didn't regret his actions, even with the system's warnings. He looked up at the rocks still falling. A sense of regret washed over him. It was ironic that the one time he truly wanted to live, he couldn't. Just fall straight on my head, he thought. Give me a painless death. I'd be grateful. Suddenly, a brilliant light flashed, shattering the falling debris and startling him. A mysterious figure had appeared, just in the nick of time. As his consciousness faded, a figure appeared to save him. Yu smiled faintly, a single thought echoing in his mind. I knew it. When things got truly dangerous, you wouldn't just abandon us. With that, his strength gave out, and he collapsed into darkness. He had no idea his savior was a revered sect elder. Soon after, reinforcements swept through the chaotic scene, and the survivors were quickly given first aid and escorted back to safety. Elder Guang anxiously inquired about Yu's condition. His wounds are severe, but treatable. You can rest easy, the healer replied, but he'll be unconscious for at least 2 days and nights. After 2 full days, Yu finally awoke. At his side were Little Gui and the beardless elder. His first words were for the others, but the elder quickly reassured him, everyone else is being treated. Do not worry. Their injuries are stable, and with the medicine hall's care, they'll recover swiftly. The elder then revealed something shocking, the grand prize from the Spirit King's palace, a reward meant for someone in the spirit realm, was somehow bestowed entirely upon you, a cultivator still in the human realm. Seeing the utter disbelief on his face, the elder began to explain. You sacrificed yourself for everyone, willingly stepping onto that platform to face the trial. Though the gap in power was impossibly vast, you relied on your unyielding will and your heaven realm Tao heart to conquer the ordeal and open the path to survival. That is why the reward from the Spirit King's palace is something you have more than earned. Not only that, you then recklessly ignored the danger to go back and save your comrades. Yu, I am truly proud that the Asking Sword sect has a disciple like you, the elder declared, pulling the boy into a tight, heartfelt embrace. He then began listing a barrage of heaven-defying abilities Yu had gained from the reward. It was so overwhelming, his head started to spin. Finally, the elder summarized it all in one mind-shattering sentence. You have now completely bypassed the Dharma realm and can begin cultivating directly in the spirit realm. Yu was floored. Didn't that mean he was now ridiculously hard to kill? Seeing his stunned silence, the elder mistook it for pure joy. He thought to himself, when you truly step into the spirit realm, this trial will become the foundation that helps you soar to unbelievable heights. Aside from 3 other disciples and Guangzhou, most only suffered superficial wounds. The sect's spiritual medicine proved incredibly effective for their treatment. However, Guang's injuries were severe, corroded by the killing intent of the Spirit King's palace. His recovery would take many painful days. In the aftermath, the elders traveled to the Spirit King's hall to investigate the disaster's cause. There, they found it. A single, terrifying handprint embedded in the cliff face. It seemed Yu's suspicions were correct. The collapse of the secret realm wasn't a natural disaster. It was deliberately shattered by someone's immense spiritual power. and based on the sheer destructive force, the elders feared the culprit's cultivation had already reached the heaven realm. Immediately, all disciples who were present were summoned for questioning. The moment they heard the incident was sabotage by a hidden enemy, Yuyue and the others were completely stunned. And that's where Part 1 comes to a close. Smash that like button and show your support for a quick release of Part 2.